So you found your reading material, sat down and are ready to start reading. But how exactly should you go about that? You may be wondering, who the hell is that? Yeah, you've seen me probably before in other videos. Lucas did so much work, I'm gonna take over from here while he takes a break. So from here on out, I'm gonna talk you through all of this. I hope you don't mind the voice change. So anyway, let's go. This may sound simple, but there are a few questions about reading that we've seen come up consistently. Today we'll discuss how you should approach reading, how often to look up words, and how to deal with sentences you don't understand. Before we dive into our reading strategy, it's important to mention that the strategy outlined in this video is for intensive reading. We have a separate video that explains the differences between intensive and extensive reading, as well as when and how to apply each strategy. But here's a quick summary. Intensive reading involves making active effort to understand each sentence you come across. You look up definitions of unknown words, check translations of sentences you have trouble understanding, and search for explanations for new grammar points you encounter. Extensive reading, on the other hand, is all about consuming as much content as possible in a given time, without interrupting your flow. This usually means picking content that is slightly easier. Stuff you can read without needing to look up many things. Ideally, you understand enough of the content that you can make sense of what new words mean by the context that they are used in, the role they play in the sentence, and so forth. Both types of reading are useful, but they do different things. Intensive reading lets you work out the meaning of many new words and grammar points, and that knowledge will enable you to understand more content in the future. Extensive reading lets you see words you already know used in many different contexts, and this overlearning, which we've talked about before, is what will eventually enable you to understand your target language without effort. Intensive reading gives you depth, extensive reading gives you breadth, and you need both of those things to learn a language well. Extensive reading is pretty straightforward. You choose content that is mostly understandable, ideally it's very understandable, and then while reading you almost always skip a word or sentence you don't understand. The only exception might be if you continuously see a certain word come up over and over again and still can't figure out what it means from context. Then we'd argue it's okay to look up even during extensive reading. But generally, the key with extensive reading is to be content with understanding what you do understand and accepting that you might not always understand everything. Intensive reading is a bit more complicated, so this video will focus on how you can maximize the value you get out of the time you spend reading intensively. When reading, you will encounter three types of sentences. Sentences with no unknown words, sentences with one unknown word, which we call one-target sentences, and sentences with more than one unknown word, which we call multi-target sentences. How you deal with each of these sentence types varies slightly. The general principle is to be efficient with your learning. No single sentence is so important that you should spend half an hour trying to understand it by Googling various parts of the sentence or searching through blogs and forums. If a sentence is currently too hard to understand, just move on. Instead of wasting time on one super hard sentence, it's better to instead get through several dozen easier sentences. Sentences with two or more unknown components are the ones you should spend the least amount of time on. If a sentence only has one unknown component, you will know exactly what's confusing you. If a sentence has three unknown components, it's suddenly not clear which unknown is doing what. Breaking down these sentences would take work, but these sentences aren't worth your time right now. The strategy here is to read the sentence once and look up the unknown words with your pop-up dictionary. Don't go out of your way to Google or dig deeper into them. If you can understand the sentence after quickly looking up the unknown words in the pop-up dictionary, great. If not, move on anyway. Next, we have one-target sentences. These sentences are much more valuable and are potential candidates for creating flashcards. The strategy here is as follows. Read the sentence once and look up the unknown word in the pop-up dictionary. If you then understand the sentence, great. You can choose whether you want to create a flashcard for that sentence or not. If the new word appears in a sentence that is recommended by Migaku, or if it's a word you really want to learn, Then you simply click the orange button in the top right corner of the pop-up dictionary to create a flashcard. We've included a link to a guide video on card creation in the description of this video if you want to know more about the feature in detail. However, if you still don't understand the sentence, go ahead and check the translation. You can do this by clicking the Translate button in the pop-up dictionary. Sometimes comparing the original sentence and its translation will give you enough information to understand what it means. If you still don't understand it, then ask yourself if you are completely confused or if you have a clear idea of what it is you don't understand. If you are completely confused, just move on. The sentence is not low-hanging fruit and it's not worth learning yet. If you know what's confusing you, then go ahead and view the sentence breakdown tab or AI explanation tab of the pop-up dictionary, or Google or otherwise further inspect that part of the sentence in a way you find helpful. If you don't find an answer within a minute, just move on. Again, there are low-hanging fruit out there. If you do figure out the sentence after your further inspection, then you can consider making a flashcard for it. Lastly, we have sentences that contain no unknown words. We refer to these as zero-target sentences. This means that in theory, you should understand every individual part of the sentence and thus understand the sentence as a whole. In practice, however, this is not always the case. Sometimes, for example, words add up to more than the sum of their parts. Knowing the word get and the word along won't let you make sense of the phrase get along. You would need to learn the meaning of get along separately from the meanings of get and along. Sometimes a sentence might be quite long or be organized in a unique way which makes it difficult to break down. For example, a sentence might reference something that was stated previously and you will end up confused because you understand what the sentence literally means, but you don't understand what it means in context because you don't understand what is being referred to. Our strategy with these sentences is as follows. Read the sentence, understand it, great, move on. If you don't understand the sentence, follow the same procedure as with one-target sentences. Check the sentence translation to see if that provides the clarity you need. If that doesn't help and you suspect a particular word, grammar point or structure is causing the difficulty, look it up. But if you still don't understand the sentence after referencing the sentence breakdown tab in the pop-up dictionary or looking at the AI explanation tab, then maybe try a quick Google search or further inspection, but spend no more than a minute in total on this entire process. Hard sentences are hard because they contain several unknown components, say component A, B, and C. And this can make it difficult to determine what exactly is the source of your confusion. The thing is, those same components exist in other sentences too. If you read enough, you'll eventually encounter a one-target sentence which contains component A, another one which contains component B, and another one which contains component C. The result is that you end up learning what each of these components means, and you do so without struggling. So remember to always prioritize low-hanging fruit, not only in your reading, but on your whole language learning journey. Another important point is the type of content you use for your reading immersion. Although you can use any content you like, we recommend using digital content that is out-of-the-box compatible with Migaku. Pasting in text copied from other applications into the clipboard module, or using physical reading materials that are easily recognized and imported into Migaku using the OCR module. Don't forget that you can also take screenshots on your phone or a tablet of apps that don't have copyable text and import those into Migaku using the OCR module as well. The ability to quickly look up a word's definitions and translation and create flashcards is a massive boost in efficiency and convenience. Minimizing the overall effort you need to exert in order to learn effectively while reading is a very important part in making language learning a sustainable pursuit in one's life. We hope this little guide on reading immersion helps to clarify a few things and make sure that you don't waste much time. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section below, and any relevant videos to this topic are linked in the description as well. With this, we are done for today, and we'll see you in the next video.